Hey everyone, I'm Don Hanson, and I just graduated a coding bootcamp a week ago. So, the past week, during my live streams, I've been getting a lot of questions about just my general experience with the coding bootcamp. Is it intense? Is it worth the money? How are my instructors like? Is it for them? So I found myself answering a lot of these questions over and over. So I decided just to make a video about it. And hopefully this can reach more people and answer your questions as well. But yeah, let's get started. So why did I attend a coding bootcamp? Actually, before I got accepted into Fullstack Academy, which was my coding bootcamp, I self-studied with a big focus on front-end development. I hated CSS, and I wanted to get better with it. I had a lot of ideas that I wanted to come to life and bring online and build communities around, and they looked like crap. So I spent quite a few months just getting comfortable with CSS and building front-end products and just diving into a little bit of the back end, but mainly I found myself very passionate with user experience and building user interfaces. And as I got more comfortable with that, eventually I started applying for jobs. And the job process was very educational. I grew a lot during it, but I also realized that I had a lot of gaps. One being JavaScript. JavaScript was something that I avoided for a very long time. I felt like I wasn't a very good programmer. Maybe I wasn't meant to become a programmer. When I would tackle coding challenges, I felt like I struggled more than other people. These are kind of just all thoughts I had in my head, and I think these are common thoughts, more common than I realized at the time. But when I started going to these interviews, the gaps were technical. I was expected to know JavaScript. I was expected to solve simple JavaScript problems. Sometimes I had data structure problems, which completely blanked out. So when I realized I had these technical gaps, and I definitely confirmed that coding is a big passion of mine. I was heading in the right direction. I want to make sure the next 3 to 6 months I would fill those gaps and I would learn what I needed to know. And it's very hard to know that you're on the right path until you get hired, right? So this is when I started to consider a coding bootcamp. And I put a lot of thought into this because coding bootcamps are very expensive. And I still had confidence that I could learn it on my own. So eventually I started looking. I was very, very, very picky, did a lot of research, and eventually ended up with applying to Fullstack Academy. They had a very good reputation, strong curriculum, and most importantly, it was hard. I heard a lot of people mention that it was hard, it was intense, but it was full stack JavaScript. That's exactly the gap that I was trying to fill. So I figured, why not? I applied, and I eventually did get in. So I got accepted into the Chicago program, and it was honestly one of the best choices I've made in my life. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So how intense was it really? The application process was actually a little bit more intense than I thought it'd be, but the actual coding bootcamp. So how it was structured was the first 6 weeks were split up, and you learned. You were tossed new technologies every single day. It was very intense. You were encouraged to get there even earlier to just get warmed up with code words. And so that would actually eventually get you warmed up for the whiteboard interview preparation that you had the second phase, which was called the senior phase. But the first 6 weeks, a lot of technologies thrown at you, and I think there was a common feeling in the class, I wish I had more time to pick up this technology, because you would dive into the technology. It'd be very intense. You do pair programming every single day, trying to tackle this challenge or build this new thing each day, and then something else, or the next day would be something different. But it was really fun. I got to pair program. I got to learn patience in different perspectives and just how other people think. And then eventually when I kind of I let other people kind of come up with their own solutions, and I watched and I listened. That's when I grew the most. And that pair programming experience with these new technologies that were very hard to pick up with a big time constraint, I grew an incredible amount the first 6 weeks. Was it intense? Yes. If you get pre-reading for your coding bootcamp, do it. It probably saved me. I think my experience was a little bit more intense because I had a 2-hour train ride to Chicago and a 2-hour train ride from Chicago. So that definitely made it so I'd wake up, I would code on the train, I'd code when I got there, I'd code on the train, and then I'd go to sleep. That was my experience for 13 weeks. So it was very intense. Learning different frameworks and picking them up at a very fast pace was very difficult. But I grew. The amount that I grew was so much more in that 3 months than the year and a half that I spent self-teaching. I can honestly say that. And then we jumped into the last 6 weeks. And we got to just build complex projects. And it was fun. And the first project that we got to build, we had this time constraint. We were just always tested with that time. It was very interesting because you had to prioritize your features and what you built. But after that 6 weeks, after just feeling like I never had enough time, I never learned enough, they finally let us loose. And I built this project with my team that made me realize, holy shit, I learned an incredible amount in the first 6 weeks. And you don't realize it until you start building these projects. And so this first project made me realize, wow, I can actually build applications that people want to buy, that people are going to hire me for. And so that's the first application that we tackled. Then we tackled a solo project called the Stackathon. And so I wanted to build my tower defense game on the front end with React and Redux, and I did not get that done. I wish I would have worked full-time on Saturday to get that done, but I got to build my very first game, and I got to tackle collision detection and clipping, just like testing the DOM and CSS animations and realizing what technologies I should have used versus the ones that I did use. And then we finally built our capstone project, which I'm really proud of our group. We did awesome. The people that I worked with, they were very intelligent, and it was a challenging project, but very rewarding at the end. So the entire process, it's very easy to get burned out. I really think you should consider a bootcamp that cares about your health. That's extremely important. We had about an hour and a half midday. I chose to work out. Some people would hang out. They would go out to eat. They would just walk around Chicago. But really take your health seriously. And that's definitely something they encourage. Get a lot of sleep during the boot camp. But as far as the hours that I put in, you can put in the minimum. The minimum was about 54 for the first 6 weeks because we had to do these CS Saturdays. They were computer science Saturdays that would dive into really, really hard concepts. Very educational. But at the end of the week, you wanted a break, and then you had to wake up early Saturday and tackle this problem that was much harder than your entire week. And then towards the end of the CS Saturdays, you realize how much you grew from them, and you're like, crap, I actually want more of those. But then eventually we didn't have to do the Saturdays the last 6 weeks. So we would be coding on our own projects over the weekends, most likely. But it was an intense program. Very, very intense program. Was it worth it? Absolutely. The time commitment for me, I probably put about 80 hours a week into it. So you put in what you get out of it, but when you go into a full immersive program, commit your life to it. Take care of anything else and do your best to prepare to literally live and breathe that coding bootcamp. You will get the most out of it. You will get your money's worth out of it. But the amount of growth that can be had during this bootcamp is incredible. So yeah, it was intense, big time commitment. My instructors were very, very passionate. Like every time I talked to them, every time I had a problem, whether it was personal or technical, they made me feel like I was the most important person to them at that moment. And that's important. Make sure your instructors are passionate about teaching and about coding and about growing as developers. Meet them. Meet them before you sign up to the bootcamp. You have that right. You really do. You have that right to ask as many questions as you want because you're about to give up your life for this temporarily. So how do you know if it's right for you? This is a very tough question that's very individualized, but I think I have the right idea with this, and you guys let me know what you think. But just hearing different people's experiences, and I've gotten to meet a lot of different developers and growing developers during my live stream, this is what I've basically concluded. Be passionate about coding. Make sure you want to be a developer. I can't stress that enough before you even apply. A coding bootcamp is for someone that is very passionate about this career and not making the career transition for the money. To be honest, I don't think you're going to make as much money as you think you are coming out of the bootcamp. You can sell yourself well. There are different things you can do to negotiate and, get your offers a little bit higher. But most importantly, go into a coding bootcamp because you like solving problems. With code, you like building things. You might want to build a community, a mobile app. You might just love the idea of learning new technologies constantly and having to stay up to date. And for me, that's kind of what it was, is I would often get bored with my previous jobs and I would feel, okay, what's next? And coding is something that's ever evolving, and it's something that constantly provided that challenge. I realized I could combine that psychology and coding into one and focus on that user experience in the front end. But I realized I was passionate about coding, and that, I believe, you'll have your different passion, you'll have your different motivations for getting into coding, but you need to know that you want to be a developer. When you're ready and you realize that you want to be coding as a career, not for the money, but because you love coding and building things and solving problems, that's when you should apply. That's when you should start considering boot camps. Do you need a boot camp? Absolutely not. Do you need a computer science degree? Absolutely not. To become a developer, all you need are the skills and the passion. You're going to need soft skills. You're going to need to be able to work with people and be friendly and want the best for them and kind of just to be able to build those relationships. That's important. But a coding bootcamp is for someone that is passionate about coding and wants to fast track their learning. You will definitely fast track your learning. It'll most likely speed up the progress of getting a position, and that's mainly who it's for, someone who's passionate about coding and wants to fast track their learning. The people that it's not for, people that want a career change because they're not making enough money, I don't think it's for you yet. People that want a career transition just because sometimes there are videos going out about how a software engineer position or a software development position is a respected position. It's very flashy. You get a lot of money. I don't know. There are a lot of shallow reasons to become a software developer. What I would do before you decide to apply to a coding bootcamp is learn on your own for a little bit. Build some projects. Explore different technologies. You don't have to spend a lot of time, but you need to spend enough time to realize that, hey, I've built a few projects, I've learned some stuff, I want to learn more. This is exciting. There is so much more to learn, and I think the test that I give people is, what do you do with your free time? So you go to your full-time position, and then you come home, what do you do with it? Sometimes you might spend it with family, which is fine, that's great. But do you watch TV? Do you watch Netflix? Do you play video games? Do you go out? Do you drink and just be hungover the next day? Like, none of these, I'm actually not judging you for any of these decisions that you make. But if you're not spending your time coding during your free time, you might question whether this coding bootcamp is really for you, because you're going to live and breathe coding. My instructors, day one, said, I thought he was full of shit, but he said, you are going to dream about JavaScript. Did not believe it. Week 7, it was either week 7 or 8, I had a dream about JavaScript. And it was actually a scary dream. I felt like I wasn't going to finish this project. It became this nightmare, this coding nightmare. I felt like I was not going to finish this project in time, and I wasn't going to be able to build all the features that this client wanted. It was kind of silly. But I was coding in JavaScript. He was right. So make sure that this path is right for you. It will fast track this progress for you. And the most important thing is this coding bootcamp is not going to make you this software developer that knows everything. This coding bootcamp is going to get you a jump start into this career, and it's up to you from there to continue growing as a developer. But if you guys have any other questions, I know this video is getting a little bit long, but if you guys have any questions about more specifically Fullstack Academy or the interview process, how to prepare for it, if you want me to dive into anything else, just leave your questions in the comment. You are more than welcome to contact me in any way. So anyways, good luck with your journey. I'm always here to help you become a better software developer. If you have any questions for me, just let me know. Thanks. Have a great day and happy coding, everyone.